Our guest tonight served 8 years as the 44th President of the United States. In case you forgot that, he wrote a book to remind you. It's called A Promised Land. It's available at long last. Please say hello to President Barack Obama. Hi. Oh, it's very good to see you. You know, all right. He knows we miss you. Why did you leave us with him?
You know, I've got to follow the Constitution and Michelle's mandate, which was I had 8 years and then we had to get out of there.
The Constitution seems a little shaky lately, so I think Michelle's mandate is a lot stronger. How are you? Thank you for doing this. It's great to see you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, and I enjoyed your book. It is quite a book. I mean, it really is interesting and long. It's very long. It's 701 pages long. Did you make it that long to make sure Trump never reads it?
You know, I don't think it would have had to be 700 to make sure he didn't read it, from what I hear. But, you know, as I said in the preface, I didn't start off wanting to write a book that long, but as you start getting into it, you know, you realize, first of all, I want people to understand how I was making decisions, you know, what we were dealing with the financial crisis or with Iran or these other issues, and you know, I didn't want to put everything in footnotes and endnotes because I don't know about you, but when I read, I skip over those. I never look at that stuff. So,
I've never looked at a footnote, no. Yeah.
Exactly.
There's not a bit of it that's extraneous. I mean, it is fascinating, and it is interesting because, you know, you read the news, you see the news, you know the stories that are happening. And we'll get into some of that stuff, but the thought and the methodology that you put into every decision and the gravity of these decisions is absolutely, I'm sure, overwhelming. Now, I don't know if you keep track of this stuff, but you sold around 900,000 copies the first day of release. Do you know if that is more or less than your wife, Michelle Obama, sold with her book?
It's a tad more, but I'm not rubbing it in over dinner. You know, I know, although in truth, Michelle's attitude is, boy, you go out and sell some books, that's fine, because that will pay for some of my shoes.
Have Malia and Sasha read the book?
They have not. You are never a prophet in your own land. Their attitude is, we've got better things to do than to read your boring, you know, rants and raves. They promise at some point they will, which, in truth, I think it took them like 10 years before they finally picked up my first book. So I suspect by the time they're 30, they will have read it.
Your wife, Michelle, told me that you are afraid of Sasha. Is that true?
Yes.
Yes.
And the reason is because Sasha is a mini Michelle. And I'm afraid of Michelle and Sasha. Having seen that, you know, basically has the same look and the same attitude. Malia is more like me temperamentally. So, and we call ourselves the long faces because her face is more shaped like mine, and it's the round faces are Michelle and Sasha, and the round faces are a fiercer tribe. You know, we're like the vegetarians, the gatherers, and they're the hunters. We try to, you know, keep the peace with them.
One of the fun stories in the book is shortly after you gave that speech at the DNC, suddenly you became very famous and you decided to take the girls to the zoo. You thought you'd be able to pull it off. You got mobbed at the zoo, and then the girls came up with a secret identity for you.
That's right. We get mobbed. We have to leave the zoo. I'm kind of depressed about the whole thing. And Malia, you know, who's sitting in the back seat with Sasha, she says, "Dad, you need an alias." And Sasha's like, "What's an alias?" And it's like, well, it's like a fake name you use so you disguise your identity. She said, so it should be like Johnny McJohn John. I said, you think that should be my name? John? Yeah, she said, but the problem is you also have to disguise your voice because it's too distinctive. So you talk really slow. You need to speed up how you talk and use a higher voice. And so she had a whole plan. Sasha agreed to the plan. We get home. They explain the plan to Michelle. Michelle says, "Hun, the only way that Daddy's going to disguise himself is if he has surgery to pin back his ears," which I found somewhat offensive. But I'm generally the brunt of jokes in my house.
It's comforting to know that because I get the same thing at my house. It's like you think you're a big shot and then you walk in the door. It is interesting, though, to read about the difficulties of trying to be a good father and trying to be a good president and senator at the same time, and how much you struggled with that.
Yeah, look, I mean, I was very proud of the work I did and the service, and at the same time, as I describe in the book, look, my dad wasn't there when I was growing up, and when I married Michelle and we talked about starting a family, I said to myself, I'm going to do things differently. I'm going to make sure my daughters know me. They know they're loved. They know they're supported. And overall, they'd say, I think, that I did a good job on that front, but there were a lot of times where I'd be gone more than I wanted, especially during the campaign for the presidency. There were times where I'd have to leave early in the middle of something because some crisis comes up. And the maybe most frustrating, I couldn't do normal stuff with them, right? I describe how if we wanted to go to a bookstore while I was president, I mean, you'd have the SWAT teams and you'd have to, they'd have to bolt down the manhole covers in front of the store. And,
you'd have to bring in Johnny McJohn John to handle everything.
Exactly. So, the good news, though, was, and I didn't anticipate this, but this ended up being a weird benefit of the presidency. You don't have a commute because it's you live above the store. I was able to make sure that I was having dinner with them every night at 6:30. So you come from the Situation Room and then you sit down and suddenly, you're hearing about some dorky boy at school or witnessing an argument between Michelle and Sasha about whether Sasha's going to actually eat that spinach or not, and it takes your mind off things a little bit. It helped ground me. I actually think I was a better president because of that constant reminder of what's the point of all this other than making sure you're leaving a better world for your kids.
I have a feeling Michelle and the girls are going to enjoy the cover of InStyle Magazine. Have you seen this?
I have not seen it. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what I do.
How many martinis in were you on this shoot?
I think it was actually shot around noon.
Oh.
And
so you have no excuse.
These photographers, they mess with you because they'll say something, you'll say, that's ridiculous, and so you're like, and they splice it up and it makes it look like you're trying to look like James Bond when in fact you were asking, how soon is this going to be finished?
Yeah, right, And you can't order a missile strike on their homes anymore. It's very sad, very powerless feeling, I'm sure. We have many things to discuss with you. I want to talk about healthcare. I want to talk about bin Laden. President Obama is with us. This is his book, A Promised Land. We'll be right back.
That's what I do.
That's what he does. Welcome back. President Barack Obama is with us. This is his book. That's unbelievable. I mean, come on. That's ridiculous.
Some people may not know. You know who passed me that basketball was actually Maisie Biden, Joe Biden's granddaughter, who was traveling with him on that campaign stop. And she's one of Sasha's best friends, and I had coached her on the Vipers, which is Sasha's rec league team when they were, 7 or 8. And she was the LeBron James of the league.
Well, she got an assist on that one. That has to make you happy. I mean, for all the many accomplishments, making a shot like that as you're campaigning for Joe Biden is ridiculous. I mean, it really is. Do you feel that
it wasn't bad
when you congratulated Biden and Senator Harris that you were premature in doing that?
No.
No.
I thought I was right on time. There seems to be some lag. The communication system in the White House used to be better. It was real time. There's a lot of computers there that actually tell you what is going on around the world.
You know the White House well. You lived there for 8 years. Are there places someone could hide, like if, say, they were going to be removed? Are there little cubby holes or anything we should know about?
Well, I think we can always send the Navy SEALs in there to dig them out.
Will it be weird to call Joe Biden Mr. President?
No, I've already called him Mr. President-elect.
Okay.
I called him up.
Yeah.
I think that his experience over 8 years he knows the job and he understands the gravity of it. He will hit the ground running. Most importantly, with respect to how to deal with this pandemic. We, as I describe in the book, we dealt with H1N1, we dealt with Ebola. We actually, set up an entire pandemic playbook and a task force inside the White House in the eventuality that, in fact, something like this would happen.
And what happened to that task force?
It got disbanded.
Yeah, it got
by
disbanded.
Current president, but it will be resurrected, and that will be really important. I wish the transition was going better because we lose time during these crises. As I describe, when I came in, we were in the middle of a big crisis, the financial crisis. George W. Bush, he and I had obviously big policy differences, but he's a good man, he's a patriot, and he ordered everybody on his team to work seamlessly with us on the transition. Could not have been more gracious, could not have been more helpful, and that actually helped us be able to get a head start on trying to stem what could have been a Great Depression instead of a Great Recession.
It is interesting in reading the book that you can pick what you want to push. There are many things you care about. I'm sure there are a million different things you care about, but there are only so many things you're going to be able to get done as president. So fortunately for us, you chose healthcare as your first big push. And it is going through and reading about how difficult it is to get something like that done, which is crazy, by the way, because it's something that, looking back, people are pretty happy with. But it's amazing that you got it done. It is the slimmest of margins, and to this day, Republicans keep trying to kill it, and to us while they're at it. And I mean, that alone is, I think, an accomplishment that you could build a presidency around.
I was really proud about that, and I go into detail of all the hurdles and barriers. It's probably the one piece of legislation where I really describe in detail the whole legislative process, the sausage making, as it's called in Washington. You're right. It shouldn't be that hard.
Yeah, because when you make sausage, everybody understands that people want to eat the sausage. But there are people going like, no sausage for these people. And you're saying, but people want sausage. And we wind up with no sausage a lot of the time.
We have some structural barriers that are making government not work. And I describe one of them, which is the filibuster in the Senate, where it's not in the Constitution, but somehow now everything requires a supermajority, 60 votes, to get things done, which means that a unified opposition can block anything, and that's what happened during health care. I tell you what, though, Jimmy, the bottom line is that we ended up getting not just 20 million people who didn't have health insurance, but as you have so eloquently championed, and I mean this sincerely, you helped save the protections of the Affordable Care Act when you spoke so eloquently about its impact on your own family. And over 100 million people have somebody in their family with a pre-existing condition that could have been affected if this thing had gotten repealed. Now I look back and I say that is worth it. And as I describe in the book, the night that we got that done, and I was upstairs, Michelle and the girls were on spring break. I was alone with Bo, the dog that Ted Kennedy had given me, and he had been a champion of healthcare who had helped
I thought you meant
push
Bo.
me on this.
Bo was also a champion of healthcare, sure.
Yeah.
Yes, veterinary, sure.
You know, that night was the best night of my presidency because I knew this was a hard thing. We got it done, and I was absolutely convinced that once it took, that the American people over time would see the benefits of it, and it survived a lot of efforts to get unwound.
Many years ago, I decided to do an experiment. We went out in the street and we asked people what they thought of the Affordable Care Act, and then we asked those same, mostly Republicans, and asked those same people what they thought of Obamacare, and it was comical. I mean, everybody liked the Affordable Care Act, and no one liked Obamacare, and it's just so frustrating, and I would imagine it's very frustrating for you, but thank God you made that top of the list, really.
It was a priority. We've got more work to do. You know, there's still people who don't have coverage. There's still people who, even though Obamacare has made it accessible, some of the premiums are still a little bit too expensive for folks who are working but don't make a lot of money and aren't getting as big of a subsidy as they need. So I'm glad that Joe Biden has made it one of his priorities to improve it. You know, I always called this a starter home. It's a good start, just like Social Security began. It didn't cover everybody. Eventually it grew. My hope is we build on this. Each generation should be able to refine and perfect this so that over time, eventually, we do the same thing for American citizens as every place else, from Canada to Japan to France to England, everybody else is able to do, which is to make sure if you get sick, you're not going bankrupt, your family's getting good care, and overall, everybody's better off.
President Obama is with us. When we come back, I want to ask about bin Laden and more things. We'll be right back. President Barack Obama is with us. This is his book. It is a big bestseller. It's called The Promised Land, and it's great. And one of the most fascinating stories I've ever heard is the story about planning and executing the raid on bin Laden, and also all the different things that were going on while you were working on that.
Well, the book ends with the bin Laden raid.
Yeah.
And part of the reason I ended the book on the bin Laden raid was it was also at the time when the whole birther conspiracy was being floated by Donald Trump.
Right.
And so, you know, you get this split screen that I was experiencing during my presidency, where we are planning this huge, risky, difficult operation that involves all the power and you know, technology and skill and courage of the U.S. military and intelligence. And at the same time, I'm dealing with a guy who's saying that, yeah, I wasn't born where I was born. And it gives you kind of an example of the weirdness of modern politics, where you want the president to be focused on the job, not on a circus. But the circus is what a lot of times is dominating the press and ends up distracting a lot of the White House. And one of the things I always had to do was to try to screen that stuff out to make sure that I'm keeping my eye on the ball.
It almost feels like a television show. It's so preposterous. So you got this guy who, by the way, I'm sure you know, floated the idea that they didn't actually kill Bin Laden. You killed like Weird Al or something like that. Did you kill Weird Al Yankovic?
Well, look, I mean, it would be preposterous except for the fact that it's the President of the United States retweeting it.
Yes.
And when you had, I think, one of the members of the SEAL team responding, you know, understanding the risks he and his fellow SEAL members took, anything could have happened. You know, that's just not what you want out of a commander-in-chief.
It's very silly. So,
yeah.
A personal question. I asked this question of your wife. I interviewed her in Tacoma last year. And she told me that, she said, the next time I see you, I will tell you the answer, and I will tell you a story. But I haven't seen her. So, on the night you did kill Bin Laden, did you and Michelle make love?
Did she say she was going to answer that?
Yes. When I read the book and you were talking about hearing people outside the White House chanting USA, 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 I had an image in my head. I did.
I suspect that she was asleep. Because the truth of the matter is, most of the time, by the time I was done working, she'd be snoozing.
Right.
So Michelle goes to bed about 9 o'clock.
You don't have to make excuses. It's okay. I experienced the same thing.
It's not an excuse. It's a lament.
That could be. That's a good title for the next book. A lament. I thought this might be fun. We have something planned. We found some people who are very excited about your book coming out. Some of them traveled to your inauguration in 2008, and we told them they don't know that we're involved with this at all. They don't know this is on television. I think they think it's through a bookstore. We asked them if they wanted to watch clips of you reading your new book, and they think these are pre-recorded clips, like an audio book that they'll be seeing, but instead, we'd like you to do it live and then kind of surprise them as you do it. Would you like to give this a try?
Good, let's do this.
All right, let's do it. All right.
I'm ready.
Let's start. This woman's name is Joyce Taylor. She's an auditor from Temple Hills, Maryland. Huge fan, saves magazine clippings about you, all that stuff. Here we go. She can't hear us. She doesn't know she's on.
Who's this?
Being the president takes a lot of hard work and sacrifice. But one of the most rewarding parts of the job was traveling these United States and meeting the great people that make up this country. From farmers in Iowa to auto workers in Detroit to retired auditors from Temple Hills, Maryland. The retired auditors are actually my favorite. They were always coming up to me and saying things like, "Oh my God, Barack, I love you. My name is Joyce Taylor." Joyce, was that a pretty good impression of you? Hey, Joyce, what's going on? How are you?
I'm fine.
Yo, Joyce, it's so nice to see you. Ah, Joyce,
Okay.
this is so sweet.
Okay.
You okay?
Is this really President?
Whew.
Okay,
Joyce,
I'm
you
good.
doing okay?
I'm good.
I just wanted to let you know that I so appreciate, I hear that you've been a big supporter. So Jimmy Kimmel decided we should surprise you by pretending like we were actually reading the book, but
Oh my God.
I was going to read about you.
It's so nice to meet you.
Hey, Joyce. Joyce, are you excited to see me?
See, there's Jimmy. We're not getting a lot out of Joyce in terms of words.
Joyce. Wow, we know why you're named Joyce, that's for sure. You're Rejoice. Joyce, maybe you could send Joyce a book, President Obama.
Joyce, you are going to get a signed copy of this book. That's for sure. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Joyce. I'm sorry to...
And you stay safe, okay?
Stay safe, that's right.
Thank you so much. So nice to meet you, and you too, Mr. Kimmel. I'm so sorry. I'm not normally like this. Thank you so much.
Look at that.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
You're making people
happy. I pray for you
happy.
all the time. I pray for you all the time. Thank you so much.
Joyce.
Thank you.
Thank you,
awesome.
President Obama. The book is called A Promised Land. It is out now. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining us. That was fun. Appreciate it. We'll be right back with Zach Brown Band.
Thank you, guys.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Kimmel. I hope you enjoyed that video. Hit subscribe and all your dreams will come true, assuming your dreams are to watch more YouTube videos.